So if it hasn't come up in your games, because even now, like the Runeterra has kind of stuck more towards a traditional kind of gameplay style
Yeah.
of board control, face damage, unless you're Swim, which that the last month he's been doing nothing but degeneracy. But that's a different story.
Welcome to Casuals of Runeterra, episode 27. I'm your host, Ryan, here with your other host, Hetch.
What is going on?
It was kind of a spooky episode, I guess. I'm not really sure. It's November. It's almost December. So.
The subject material is spooky, but instead of really getting into it, just get your, loosen your belts and get ready to cram way too much food.
Exactly. On one end, this episode, we have something spoopy, since we're on the other side of October. But on the other end, he's a tree. So, we're meeting both criteria for Christmas and Halloween since we're right in the middle.
What would happen if the Rockefeller Christmas tree ruined the entire New York parade?
Housekeeping. So, as always, up top, you guys can listen to us everywhere. Follow us on Twitter to keep up to date on episodes. That's at Podcast Core. That's COR. And you can send an email to the same name at gmail.com. Leave a like, follow, short review or comment, and tell a friend to maintain a state of pure harmony by listening to the Casuals of Runeterra podcast.
That was pretty poetic, like almost poetic enough to take away how cheesy it is. Ryan.
So state of the game. What have we been playing? I'll tell you what I haven't been playing. This damn game, because Shadowlands is coming out. And I've been in full World of Warcraft mode, so I ain't got time for no Legends of Runeterra right now. So, Hetch, what are you playing?
You absolute monster. So I've actually found myself a horrible brew that I've really been enjoying, which is a Demacia Targon list with Shyvana and Soraka.
Yeah, you shared this with me.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So instead of going all in on Soraka with the Spring of Life, or going all in on just dragons with the newly buffed Shyvana, it's the two of them working together, and then you have cards like Strafing Strife, whether created by Shyvana or just running it, that actually synergizes with Soraka's healing. And then you have since dragons are already beefy, they usually survive long enough to heal. They kind of work together. It's been a lot of fun. I've found more success than I ever thought I would. So I'll get that list out to everybody, because if you want to try it, it's something a little different, and you won't get absolutely bodied, which
sounds exciting.
That feels pretty good.
So let's go ahead and hop into the main topic. We kind of gave it away up top, as we usually do, because we're terrible spies. But Deadwood is the name of this episode.
Hey, this is why it's not an Among Us podcast.
Exactly.
We reveal what we're up to right from the get-go.
So what's the first spell we got here?
All right, so as far as with the spell, just go ahead and go with the obvious one, Sap Magic. All right, so
that's a sick name too. It's like Sap Magic sounds like either a bad SoundCloud rapper name or a good song name.
I mean, Sap Magic sounds like something that would be draining the life out of someone. It sounds terrible.
Yeah.
And once we get into the card, it's just completely backwards for Runeterra. I love the theme of the card. So this is a 3-mana burst speed spell, and at burst speed it's toss 3, which is we haven't talked about the toss mechanic in a long time on the show. So that's where you obliterate the bottom 3 cards of your deck, or tossing is from the bottom of your deck and they're just gone.
And they're non-champion cards.
Yes, non-champion cards. And then the other effect on this one is heal all allies for 3, which we now know that like when it's a card says all allies, this also includes the Nexus. So this is also healing from your face. Um, so the card is like pretty cool. It's not really flexible because it only has like one effect really, which is healing.
Yeah.
And this is going to be like the unique spell that comes off of the Maokai card, but the other nice thing with it, since it does toss, like it does have a place that it can play because it can be played in deep decks, but this is a card that I only ever see if a Maokai sticks to the board, to be honest. I wonder if it can have a home.
And there's some great deep lore here. So we won't go into 3-mana burst spells because that's a thing that I try to. It's not a broken version of that, but the lore aspect of this one is, and tell me if I'm going too deep here. I'm going to give away a little bit of the lore section, but for how toss works by taking from the bottom, right, to heal everything above, like all its allies. There is a point in the story where Maokai digs his roots as deep as possible to soak up like this healing, pure, magical water to then use to disperse and try to prevent the event that's going on. Which I don't know if they went that deep when they made this card, but
I like to think that they did because the flavor quote that's on the card, which I'm glad that you went ahead and took the bullet for me because I was going to be like, to potentially spoil what we're about to go into, because the flavor quote on it is a direct quote from Maokai, and the quote is, "These isles will be cleansed." And it's so. What is the sap magic if it has the ability to cleanse the Shadow Isles?
Yep.
From a lore perspective, the card is really nice.
Yeah.
Do you ever see this in a game? No.
No. It would be considered a cute card, so you're like a one of.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what isn't a one of is this next card.
Let's talk about a real card.
Let's talk about a real card. Rude.
All cards are beautiful in the eyes of the. I'm done. So the follower for this week is going to be the Blighted Caretaker. So this is a 3-mana 2/1, so a little understated, but it has a play effect of kill an ally to summon 2 saplings. So very much a classic Shadow Isles effect of sacrificing your units for more value. And these saplings that are summoned are 2/1 ephemeral units with Challenger. And this card is a banger. Like and there's so many different ways to really build around it to get value within Shadow Isles, as far as just either sacking your units like the 1/1 that summons a 4/3 upon death, or just getting the kill triggers needed to level up Maokai, or kill triggers needed to level up Callista. This also summons ephemeral units, so you can use this to play with Hecarim and to get a payout. And the units that it summons have Challenger, so that's interaction with your opponent's board.
Yeah, forced interaction.
And since I'm not saying we're a little late to the Maokai party, but now that we're in a post meta game where Black Spear got buffed, this is also going into your Black Spear, so you can use your spell mana. So if that's like your 6 mana play on turn 3, that's a huge swing.
Yeah,
it's
this pretty much. If you take that line in the game and you're still losing, just quit. Because at that point you should have won. Like it's not. Yeah,
this is way too much value for you to not come out ahead. And so if you didn't come out ahead, they got you. Like that's just how card games work, man. Like don't be mad, just go next.
Don't be mad, just go next. This man's making T-shirts.
All right, hit us up if you want that Casuals of Runeterra merch. The picture is Cervantes on it. Don't be mad, go next.
So this takes us into our focus of the episode, Maokai himself, the Trent with the heart of gold. So Maokai's interesting because when he first came out, it was, before the lore got established, it was kind of hard to know what he was. Is he a demon tree? Was he a spirit? Was he like one of the, like when you look at Lord of the Rings, right? Or any type of high fantasy, you see these living Trents, right? It's nothing new, but they kind of went a different route with it, right? It's something that fit their mold. So Maokai is a spirit. We've talked about spirits in other episodes. You can go check out. Definitely go back and listen to the Callista episode and the other Shadow Out episodes, because it's going to help you understand a lot more in depth of what's going on here. But yeah, so he's a spirit who's born alongside one of the Blessed Isles. So there's multiple islands in the Blessed Isles. One of those islands brought about Maokai as a spirit, and this spirit decided to take the form of a tree, or a trend. So he's not a tree, he's just a spirit taking the form of one. And he uses his roots, when he gets established, to absorb what's this magical spring. And this allows him to create the saplings, not the saplings but saplings that are allowed to essentially skitter across the isles to help induce life, right? Introduce life among them. And this goes well for a long time.
Yeah, and so these are the saplings that would end up becoming the life that was the Blessed Isles.
Yes.
Maokai was there from the very beginning.
Yes. So then a long time passes, centuries, and humans arrive, which is always a bad sign. Men are dangerous. It's that meme you've seen before.
Has Pocahontas taught us nothing?
Yeah. But the first round of humans, they're all right. They're pretty chill. They're living in harmony with the environment. They're not destroying things to establish their own life, right? They're building around the wildlife, not tearing things down, which should be a good example for the current world we're living in. But we won't go there.
Dude, too soon. We're still in 2020. Too soon for that joke.
Too soon. And then centuries later, the Mad King arrives on shore. And he arrives in his efforts to bring back his wife, which go listen to our Callista episodes and our other Shadow Isles episodes to get the in-depth on that. But this effort is what triggers the biggest event, or one of the biggest events in Runeterra that change everything in the Blessed Isles, the Runation. That being said, so it starts to spread, and the Runation takes place over a course of time, right? So as it's spreading, Maokai kind of feels this because he's one with the Isles, and he jumps into action. And the first thing he does is he takes his roots, like we mentioned before, gets them as deep as possible and soaks up as much as that pure magical healing water as possible. But unfortunately, it starts to corrupt. So he has to pull back. And then that's when the mist comes in. And when the mist comes in, it starts to change and contort all the life around that it touches, right? It's like a blight of sorts that ruins everything. And he himself is caught up in this destructive power. But the twist here is because of all the water he soaked up, he has a heart just filled with pure magical water. And that begins to overcome the corruptness to a point and allows him to maintain his sanity. So in the other episodes, we talk about creatures that get caught in that mist, that lose their sense of person. And when they lose that, they become vengeful spirits. Well, he's not forced to become vengeful. He just has it in his pure heart to get everything back to the way it was.
And they do a good job of like kind of writing out like that it's just a lot that he has to take in.
Yeah.
And it is like, despite him being a spirit, it's very like human reaction that he has that it's easy to empathize with, of just watching all this life get corrupted and essentially destroyed, and how that could turn someone peaceful into not so peaceful.
Exactly. And so that's what turns him into the raging Trent of vengeance that we know as the character in the games and in the card game, because he's essentially just fighting against the corruption, because he has a hope that if he holds on for as long as possible, he'll be able to get the Isles back to where they once were, which could be something that we do see in the lifespan of League of Legends, right? The comeback of the Shadow Isles. Who knows? But that then takes us to the card. So the card has a lot of effects related to what Hetch mentioned with his spell and follower for this episode. Maokai starts off as a 4-costed 1/4. With each round, the first time you play another ally, toss 2 and summon a sapling. And to level up, your units have died, your units have died, or your cards have been tossed 25 times. That flips him into an alternate win condition. I'll let Hedge take over because this is where I start to get angry.
I was about to say, if we're gonna talk alternate win conditions, we all know this is where I come in. Hello.
I am arrived.
So at the flip, obviously Maokai gets a +1/+1, but he also gets regeneration, so that helps him stick. Which is nice. But when I level up, obliterate the enemy deck, leaving 4 non-champions. All right. So if it hasn't come up in your games, because even now, like the Runeterra has kind of stuck more towards a traditional kind of gameplay style of board control, face damage, unless you're Swim. Which the last month he's been doing nothing but degeneracy, but that's a different story. So if you haven't been in a game where both players are starting to draw to the bottom of their deck in Runeterra, if your deck has no cards left in it and you go to draw, you die. Like, there is no extended thing. We don't do the Hearthstone effect of taking increased damage after your deck is depleted. And you just die. The game is over if you have no cards left. So Maokai gets rid of all cards but 4. So it is basically, all right, 4 turns from now, that's game. All right? That's how Maokai decks win. And, oh boy, I know I was not alone when Maokai came out of just being super excited, like, I'm building a mill deck, baby. Woo! Let's go!
I remember when you messaged me and I was so pissed because you saw the release before I did. And we talked about first, Hetch knows me well and he knows I don't like alternative win conditions and he knows I hate mill.
It was a perfect storm to be like, let's do it, Ryan.
But Maokai, it's a cool card because once again, it introduced this alternative win condition. We talked about it in the Nautilus episode, where these are a good combination of cards to play off of each other, and then it has all the lore kind of wrapped into it, like we mentioned, and that swim line was hilarious. It's so true. He's doing the most degen stuff. Like, I can't wait to get back to playing the game again because I'm just gonna start playing some decks that he's been coming out with.
Yeah, like man, I want Swim to hear this one day because it is just like, dude, I keep up with the degeneracy. I am so for it. I just wish that I was smart enough to actually play the crap he's doing. Yeah. But I'm too much of an idiot. Like, this is why none of my decks have ever exploded anywhere. It's because they suck. And then he's over here like just playing 8D chess.
You heard it here first. At Casuals Runeterra, we stan degeneracy. So this takes us into, obviously, our Hetch question of the day, which is pretty straightforward. This one's not bad. I think I've grown to like you more over time. Is where I'm going more easy. Oh, wow.
Thank God for that.
So if you were a creature spirit, like of the forest, what would you be?
Oh, that's easy.
I know. That's why I've known you. I know you thought about it, but I'll go first because the natural courtesy. Mine has always been an elk. Like, elk spirits are cool because, like, usually they have horns that light up and shit, and they're massive, and they just look majestic, and then they do really cool magic shit. And it's like every form of media has some elk spirit in some form that's like an allegory of something. So it's always something that stands out to me, and I think they look really cool, and I would be the beefy darkness elk spirit.
Oh my no! I wasn't ready.
He wasn't ready. So what do you got? Who are you?
This is
and if it's Cervantes, I'm going to shut this podcast off.
No. Now, would I have a mustache in this form? Probably. But no, I would want to be a boar or like a wild hog.
Okay.
Because like it kind of like fits like my personality, or at least the way that I perceive myself. Of like boars, like they wild hog specifically is more like an invasive species.
Yeah.
So like if you're down in the south or anything, like no one even questions like hog season. Like there is no morality thing, because they're also like they also could grow up to like almost 1,000 pounds. Like
Yeah.
they get huge, but they're territorial on top of that. So even though they're omnivores, but closer to being a herbivore, like they can be like kind of dangerous. Which I feel like if someone were to just like barge into my room, I'm not nearly as nice of a person. But then it's like, no, like you just treat Edge with like a modicum of respect, and you just let him eat. He's happy. So I feel like I'd be the hog.
The graceful hog.
And yes, my whiskers would grow into a mustache.
That would be. The imagery on that is like, I wish we had people doing fan art, because that would be funny. Is the imagery of a giant, glorious spirit hog with a mustache.
With a mustache, just like in a corner, just eating to his heart's content.
And with that, it brings us to an end here. And as always, thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with the next episode.
Take care, everybody.